Abundancewala. Zafar, welcome to the show. Today we are joined by Megan Crow, the visionary behind Defining Mountains, and myself. Megan is a somatic breathwork coach and trauma-informed mentor who helps people move from state of survival to one of true flourishing. Having rebuilt her own life through the depths of grief, addiction, and recovery, she now teaches others how to regulate their nervous system and reclaim their inner power. Please welcome Megan Crow. How are you, Megan?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me today.
Thank you so much. So it was few lines. I mean that I could just fetch from your profile. Would you like to please uh, go get your own introduction to the people who don't know you?
Sure. So, hello, everyone. My name is Megan Crow. I am a certified trauma informed breathwork facilitator and somatic coach. Formerly, I worked in education as an operations manager. I did budgets. And before that, I was a research and policy analyst in education. So, my former education is similar to the foundational education that one would have if they were going to be a counselor or a licensed clinical social worker. And then I have these certifications now. So I have this opportunity where I get to bring together both my formal education and now these new certifications to help people go through some of the things that I went through in my life.
Thank you so much. Sweet introduction and diving deep into your intro. Okay, my first question is always about life journey. Can you walk us through your life corridors?
Sure. So I was born in Minnesota. I actually grew up in the Midwest and I had surgery as an infant. So I started off life in a cast and then in a brace, and that kind of set me up to be different from the other kids. I grew up there till I was 12. We did some moving around into the South. I landed in Georgia when I was 17. Um, and I tried for a bit to go out and study acupuncture and oriental medicine in New Mexico, but I have addiction that runs on both sides of my family, and that blood or that DNA kind of caught up with me in my late teenage years. And I spent most of my 20s, attempting to go to school and sometimes failing and sometimes being successful in that. But I ended up getting sober for this last time shortly after I had a child around the age of 28. I have now been sober for almost 12 years. And a couple of summers ago, I had a series of major losses. I went through a divorce, and then my father passed, and then I got laid off from my job. And that led me into breathwork and somatic coaching. And so I had 10 years of like cognitive behavioral therapy when I was recovering from alcoholism. I went to a lot of meetings and I worked the steps and I did all the things and was very much on a, personal journey of recovery. But I understood a lot of my trauma. I understood a lot of the behaviors that I wanted to change, but I just couldn't actually change them. I wasn't able to get a handle on the way that my like body and my nervous system was responding to life. So I still was encountering just like a lot of relationship issues and just, general issues, maintaining like my own sense of peace throughout my day. But breath work and somatics have really helped a lot with that. I'd say in 6 months of doing regular breath work, I got more just like nervous system and anxiety relief than I did after 10 years of talk therapy. It really is a super powerful practice. And I am now getting to see those kinds of results in my clients. I've been working with some for a few months, and it's really amazing to watch the changes that are happening with them. And since I have this whole organizational and operational background, I also now am helping other facilitators and practitioners who are really early in their business journeys. Because what I've found in this own entrepreneurial journey of myself over the past 2 years is it is really, not for the faint of heart. And I'm learning so much about myself, but I also know a lot of the systems and the softwares and the tech that scare a lot of other people who are like great in their medicine. And so I can bring those both together and help them. as well.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Okay, Mike, the first question is about defining abundance. You talk a lot about abundance beyond just financial wealth. How do you personally define a truly abundant life?
Oof. I think the first word that comes up for me is authenticity. So being able to live in authenticity, to express and to explore and be creative. And then I think there's also abundance to be found, in our relationships with others and in our relationship with ourselves. I think frequently we are not taught to look inward and to really foster this relationship with ourselves until much later in life, or maybe we're forced to at that point. And my personal journey has shown me what the kingdom of God is inside what really means. And so being able to be fully in touch with ourselves, to move through our emotions and to be authentic in our expression and our relationships, I think that's a pretty good definition of abundance.
Thank you so much. Since I also run an abundance, this global abundance organization, so that's where we resonate very closely to each other. The definition of your abundance is very close to mine. Most
Oh.
people, yeah, I know this is somatic connection. The question about somatic connection. Most people try to think their own way out of problems. Why is the body somatic work the missing piece in the personal transformation?
Yeah. So, I mean, if you think about, anytime that you get really stressed out or you're scared, like all of that doesn't happen in our brains. Sure, we mentalize, all of our emotions, but our emotions typically happen in our systems. And somatics, even though a lot of people now are kind of saying somatics equals body, somatics really refers to kind of your whole system, your body, mind, your spirit, all of it. And so when we're understanding things with our brain, well, that doesn't change the fact that my whole body had an experience. And like we can even see animals under stress, they shake when they're trying to let go of that energy. So we are an entire system. Our emotions happen other places. When we have recurrent traumas or really dramatic traumas, that sends a signal to our whole nervous system that then actually gets patterned all the way through our bodies, through our brains. So when something comes up that appears like this danger again, we are programmed to respond automatically in a particular way based on our nervous system and previous experiences. And just because we can understand our traumas or understand behaviors that we want to change, that doesn't necessarily change the way that our entire system functions or responds to stimuli. So that would be like saying, oh, I understand that my muscle is kind of weak and I want to lift something heavy. Let me just go do it because I understand that I should. Like, you need to actually work out the body and build that muscle. Our nervous system is very similar. Being able to process our emotions because we don't typically give ourselves room to do that, and learning how to do that without judgment and storytelling is very similar. We need to learn to practice being more human, because the limiting story that we've been told is that we should be calm all the time, that we should be happy all the time, that we shouldn't allow things to stress us. And that's really not the case. We're supposed to have flexibility and capacity to move between states. And all of the emotions that we experience are part of being human, and they don't all happen in our brain. So it doesn't make sense that we could fix them there.
Okay, I've got a different question, which is kind of out of subject. The already have charted out is about there are treatments available for the body. There
Mm-hmm.
are treatments available for the mind, or we may call it soul. Like a physical treatment is available, and for metaphysical problem solution, there are psychiatrists, psychs, and psychologists and neurologists, and so they are available. I find you connecting between both. What
Mm-hmm.
your work is doing, you are connecting body, mind, and soul together, and that's where the first time I am just hearing, listening that you working between on both things, and that's why this is making it more result oriented. Okay, my next question is overcoming survival mode. For someone who feels stuck in constant state of anxiety or fight or flight.
Hmm.
What is the first step towards safety?
Oof. Well, that depends on where the lack of safety is coming from, I would say. I have a course where I was teaching people about different kinds of safety, and we have, physical safety and relational safety and like financial safety. And so the first thing that I would say is getting in touch with and exploring different kinds of safety so that you can notice, what is the thing that is making you feel unsafe, as well as maybe you can find some components of safety available. So maybe like, right now, maybe let's say I'm feeling financially insecure, but in this moment, I am physically safe in my office. In this moment, I am relationally safe. There's nobody in my room yelling at me, So it's like we can draw on other aspects of safety. And then I would say, starting to support ourselves, one, with what we can find that's available to us, and putting in place, ways to start to change those situations. But a lot of times when our systems feel unsafe, it's because it's responding automatically, to a worry that we're not going to get a need met, or a worry that something is going to happen to us. And sometimes that's based on what has happened to us in the past. So like taking deep breaths in the nose, out the mouth, really elongating the breath and engaging that parasympathetic nervous system, allowing the body to calm down, can be a way. But if people are also feeling really agitated and full of anxiety, like shaking the body, jumping and giving it some movement, giving it some big breaths, like allowing, the energies that are stored inside of us to move. Because so often we feel anxious and we're all like trying to clamp ourselves down. And sometimes what we really need to do is go take a walk, get some fresh air, notice areas where we are safe so that we can resource ourselves enough to be able to deal with whatever is in our lives that is causing us to feel unsafe.
Thank you so much. Another gem of wisdom. Okay, next is about the power of breath.
Mhm.
How did breath work especially specifically help you navigate your journey through grief and recovery?
Sure. So I'll say I went through a divorce about 6 months before my father passed. And when my ex left, I was kind of physically incapable of taking good care of myself at that time. I had to have my mother move home for a while and just like help take care of me and my son. And I found breathwork on accident pretty quickly to him moving out. So just a couple days after, I enrolled in a program because I had such a profound first experience with breathwork. And while I was learning in that program, of course, I was breathing. And so 6 months of after doing regular breath work and my father getting sick, I remember one day I was walking around the neighborhood, and I was crying, I was sad. But for the first time in my life, my grief, like my feelings fit in my body. And I just remember this like aha moment of, oh my God, I'm not drowning in my emotions for the first time, even though I'm experiencing the hardest thing that I've ever been through and with a compound trauma, really close to each other. And so that for me was a really like eye opening moment of how far I had come just in 6 months of breathing at that point. But breath work trains your nervous system, expanding your window of tolerance for stress, helping you to regulate, which doesn't mean to get calm. Regulation means giving you more flexibility and capacity to shift between all of our normal, like, fight and flight and freeze and our rest and digest. Those are all states, like, some of them are not bad. We kind of, what they're talking about with the polyvagal theory right now is that these states that we constantly refer to when we say fight or flight or freeze is always bad, really it's more that we're experiencing kind of a mix of different aspects of these states, and we need all of them. We need mobilization sometimes, we need rest sometimes, we need the social engagement system. But what is important to know about regulation is that it actually means the flexibility to move between these, to not get stuck in one. Breath work helps train your nervous system to make that more possible. So when you do get agitated, you can come back to calm more quickly. Or when you do get stressful stimuli, it takes more of that stress to force you outside of your window of tolerance, where you can no longer like respond appropriately or choose how you're reacting in any given moment. So the breath is a really powerful way of essentially exercising your nervous system. As well, it allows us to go down into all of the stress and trauma that we actually store in our bodies over time. So breathing consistently over time will train your body to be better able to handle stress. As well, it'll help release a bunch of the stuff that you've been storing your whole life. And so you end up with less to release over time. And so it just becomes a practice of maintenance, which is really beautiful.
Thank you so much. How do we relate this breath work with religious rituals?
Did you say, how do we learn it with religious rituals?
Relate it with religious rituals.
Oh, well, I would say, the breath is available to all of us. So, first and foremost, using it in an intentional way is a physical practice that is just backed by science to have physiological responses in the body. So that we don't have to connect it to religion or woo woo or anything at all. There's plenty of science that talks about the power of the breath. We can see it in performance athletes, they work on breath. We can see it in, anybody who is being trained to be calm under stress, they are learning breath. So in one regard, it is a physical practice that has benefits all on its own. Now, a lot of people do use it with spiritual results in mind, I'll say. One thing to know is, like, as humans, we have DMT in our brains. We release DMT when we dream. People can take this as a drug. It's a hallucinatory thing, but we do have this in our brains and it affects our dreams. And when you breathe really intensely, you can release DMT. So some people can experience visualizations when they're doing breath work, and some people can interpret some of those to be spiritual. People who are spiritual may have spiritual experiences. And so I think, as far as like the religiosity of the experience, and can be as much or as little as is based on the person who is coming into the breathing experience, as well as whoever your facilitator is. If that's the lens that they put on it, then they do. And if they don't, then they don't.
It was very straight and it's fantastic. Now, the question is about defining mountains. What was
Yeah.
the inspiration behind the name Defining Mountains? And what does it represent for those you coach?
Yeah. So I've actually been carrying around the words defining mountains for years, waiting to use it. And it has to do with a time, I don't even remember when, but sometime back in the past, I heard about bodies of water and how, they are all kind of defined. Like, we have ponds, lakes, oceans, rivers, streams, and we have kind of definitive categories or things that make one body of water different from another. Like, if there's a certain volume of water, it's a lake versus a pond, as an example. They don't have the same kind of qualifications for mountains. There's not a specification for when a hill becomes a mountain. And it just really spoke to me as far as when we have our own individual experiences, and I can experience the same thing as you could experience, but we could walk away from that with very different interpretations, very different effects on our bodies. And so each person, really gets to define what their experience is. And we spend a lot of time judging ourselves for our own experience. We have stories that tell us whether or not how we're feeling about any given thing is valid or not. But really, it's up to each own person to define, what happened to them and how they're going to then respond to that, or if they have any healing to do, what that's going to look like. And everybody's healing path is different. What has worked very well for me might not work very well for you. I do think it's good to take a holistic approach and have more than one avenue of, self-resourcing. I have a person who facilitates me in breath every week. I also work with my own somatic coach. It's a mix of things that help me. And it was just the right mix that's doing certain things, and for other people it will be a different mix. So that's kind of, we're all defining our own mountains first in the issues that we have, and we're defining our own mountains in the way that we choose to like climb and ascend to the next version of ourselves. So that's where that comes from.
That's fantastic. Now, I have a question which is like cross continents. It's like the part of world I live in is, it's a stressed one. It's very close. There are lots of boundaries. The society just enclaves you in, and a lot of things are, we just name them for religion or some tradition or customs, or this part of the world is bonded with lots of boundaries like this, and the your part of the world is like statue of liberty. You got all liberty, you can do anything you want to. And if looking at general American life, or people generally lead they are free to do anything. When I think about these two differences,
Mm-hmm.
and still I see huge big burnouts in the modern societies. Like you are also one. Just because you were free to do anything, you could have done anything you wanted to, and you've been, but still you had to go into grief or burnouts or such things. So, would you like to make me a little, give me understanding, so that I need to know your perspective of the life, the liberty, life of liberty. How's that? I mean, how should we see this, and how do you define this Statue of Liberty and the freedom that you people have?
Ooh, well, what is coming up for me as an American who does not love what I am seeing going on in the world, and based on my education and the research that I've done around equity and the way that people are treated in this country, I would argue that we can do whatever we want. I think we have that. Mm, I think we have that view that we have a lot of freedoms, that I think also based on the way that the capitalist society sets us up culturally, our beliefs, what we have been taught over here, what we've been taught to value. I think we're prisoners just in a different way. I would argue that a lot of our societies have not been taught to go inward, to find our own answers, to seek our own version of connection, to make connection with our bodies. I mean, I would say Western society is the most disconnected from our bodies in a lot of ways. We see things like breathwork and yoga as woo woo, whereas, other Eastern cultures, it's woven in. So it's like your culture might be more regularly practicing a relationship with our bodies, whereas over here, that's like, I go to yoga on the weekends. It's like we're not even taught to have that relationship. So do we have some freedom to go around and act amok and, do things? Absolutely. But also the way that our financial system is set up, the way that historically we have kept Black and brown people, especially, you know, out of the market of success. I mean, the way our society is set up, I would argue in a way we're missing a lot too. There's a lot that we are disconnected from as well.
To me, this is a complete surprise, honestly. I mean, I mean, since I never been to US, I live in Pakistan, and this is a
Yeah.
much conservative society. And our angle looking at you is like you're all, you can have anything you want, and you're free, and we take you financially free too, and
Mm.
we think that you are living a much better life, and you've got everything there. But again, I mean, when I've been interviewing lots and lots and dozens of Americans, and especially the female segment, and
Mm-hmm.
I see this divorce is quite normal, and
Mm-hmm.
family breakups are quite normal. Old and orphanage home is quite normal. What is not normal, I mean, it's like unlike unlike here we in my country. So we in cities, yes, it is happening in cities too. But I mean, if I'm talking, I'm coming from a remote area, so I look at like, oh my goodness. I mean, these Americans, they've got everything. They're all in control. They are global leaders, and but I mean, when I see these burnouts and running very fast, and the mortgages, the car installments, and lot of that's everything, and paying the bills and all the spending in credit cards, and I see lots of burnouts. And but
Mhm.
the solutions coming from healing is like breath work or yoga or connecting yourself to the nature. So what do you think in the age of AI? And now it's not
Mhm.
only the AI, it's not only artificial intelligence. Artificial general intelligence is already there, and artificial
Mhm.
super intelligence is just around the corner. I mean, it's coming faster than we think, and life is going, at the speed of thought. So where do you see the society in next 3 years?
Oh man. I mean, one, it's scary because, especially in my country, I know half the population can't, read beyond an elementary school level. We can't tell whether or not what we're seeing, from the AI is real anymore. And we are not teaching people to be able to discern AI, real from not real. We're not giving people, information literacy so that they can go out and actually discern whether or not a source is a good one to listen to. And we are not, the politics and the government, like the businesses, they're not protecting the people, and they're not going to. Any protections that need to be in place are going to take years to get to, if ever. Um, I do think, there's a lot of people worried about all the jobs that AI is going to get rid of. AI is also going to create a lot of jobs. I understand, a lot of artists being very against the rise of AI and taking their places, but I do think it's also putting access to other people who have great creativity and maybe not those, skill sets. So I'm going to be a proponent in that way, but oh, I don't know, man. It's like it's gonna change the world a lot, and it's gonna leave behind a lot of people. A lot of people are going to really benefit and profit from all of it, and it's gonna leave, a lot of people behind. I understand the environmental impacts to some extent. I've looked into that, and that's also scary. Man often ends up addressing issues, hopefully at some point. So I'm having a little faith there, but I do think for people like me, like if you're not using it, you're just falling behind everybody else. And I might not like that, and I might not like what it's doing to the world or to our communities, but it's not slowing down, and it's like you can either go with what is happening or you cannot. And if you care about what it is doing that is having a negative effect, that's where we need to become advocates. That's where we need to get involved in politics. That's where we need to vote or do what we can to have an impact, but just staying away from it is like not going to be the answer.
Very true. We have to adopt it and use it like a horse. Like there is a horse which is tamed and another one is not. So we have to tame it. I mean, we have to ride it before it rides us. So my next question is about identity transformation. You mentioned that we are often between versions of ourselves.
Mhm.
How do we let go of an old identity that no longer serves us?
Oof. One of the best ways that I've found, and this is going to sound kind of funny, is like having a funeral for the old identity. Because I think, a lot of times when we're changing, we don't acknowledge the grief process that we're going through in becoming another version of ourselves. Oftentimes, our relationships change. Uh, we outgrow people, situations, things that used to bring us joy, and it can be very lonely at times. It can be isolating in other ways. And I think, again, coming back to self and knowing that it's part of the process, knowing that when you elevate as a human, that relationships and situations will change. And being patient with that part of it, just knowing that it's normal. I think so many people feel like they're going crazy in the middle of that, and they're not. Especially for people in their midlife or women who are going through hormonal changes, also just acknowledging like all of that is happening too. Or if someone has had a large event in their life, like a divorce or uh, health diagnosis, any of those things, like we really are not good, especially culturally, I'd say, at, because I don't know any other ones, but at acknowledging that how we're feeling is valid, that we're supposed to have a mix of feelings, that we're not just supposed to be able to think ourselves into feeling good when something bad is happening in our lives, and like letting all of that be okay. And also just knowing that a lot of the answers on the way to becoming who you want to be are a lot simpler than you think. It's not so much about constantly going, I need to do this differently. I should have done that. I shouldn't have done that. Like, awareness of the desired change is progress. And then figuring out what is true for me. How do I want to act? How do I want to feel? How do I, rather than putting all of these rules of ourselves and projecting everything society tells onto us and trying to behave that way, figuring out who we really are and what functions best for us, and letting our answers for ourselves be the right ones, let those be enough. Like, that's the process of how you rebuild you, not by holding up everyone else's ideas of who you should or shouldn't be, but by going inward and figuring out what those answers are for yourself.
Miguel, this is really, you spoke a lot of my mentors' heart out when
Mm.
you like follow your heart, follow yourself, just sit and don't follow everybody whatsoever coming in your way. Don't go after any. But someone who can't validate ideas, and the one like our part of the world, we are like we are generally following what media is telling us, what the like fashion is telling us, and like we are framed to follow. So when there is a huge gap between following your heart and following others. So where, I mean, how do we start A, B, C, or one, two, three steps to following your own heart, finding your own ikagai?
I mean, I think the easiest thing is getting water when you're thirsty, or eating food when you're hungry, and starting to meet your smallest needs first. Because when we start to meet our smallest needs first, we acknowledge that we do that. We celebrate that we show up for ourselves, even in teeny tiny ways. What we're teaching our system is that we're available for ourselves and that we can be trusted. And the more that we expand on that, the less that we need other outside things to fill us and help us feel seen and loved and safe, because we learn to give that to ourselves. So the more that we can listen inward, the more that we can rest when we're tired, the more that we can leave a party when we're done, the more that we can honor our needs, our capacities. The more we teach ourselves that we're safe with ourselves, the less we need other things to fill those gaps, because we learn to fill them with us.
Oh, what an advice. Trauma informed coaching is my next question. Why is it critical for coaches and mentors to have a trauma informed function in today's world?
I mean, I think the simplest answer is because if you don't have a trauma informed lens, you can re traumatize people. You can actually harm them. Um, if I go into a session and I think I know what you're doing there or what you need from me, I am not going to listen as well. I am going to direct that conversation in a way that fuels what I think you need to get out of it. Also, if I'm not trauma informed and, let's say that you are struggling with PTSD and we are going into something that is really bringing up a big emotion in your system. If I don't allow you to move through that at a pace that works for you, I might push you outside of your window of tolerance and really do some damage. And so, being trauma informed there's also a big component of knowing yourself well enough to be comfortable showing up, into the space and letting the other person have their own experience. Because if I'm judging your experience, I'm not helping you. I can't help you and be, totally available if I'm sitting here and critiquing the way that you're going through your process. I might think you need to cry, and what you end up doing is laughing. And if I think there's a problem with that, I'm not really going to help.
Okay. Begin before I ask a question on grief.
Mm.
Why is it not important? Like, I mean, everybody, when you and me are in grief, why can't we celebrate our grief? I mean, why can't we be into the grief? Why don't we give time? If like as your father passed away, mine too, then it's like it's going through hell and it takes time. Why are we advised to just forget about it and just go on with your life? So so what's your say on this?
I mean, I think we're basically taught that grief equals sadness. There's an appropriate amount of time that you're allowed to feel that. And most of us don't know how to hold space for other people's big emotions because it makes us uncomfortable. And I think that's really kind of just the base of it. It's like, grief has happiness in it too, because we shared good times with whatever we're sad about. Grief has a variety of different levels and experiences, and people experience grief in different ways at different times. Sometimes it hits you like a big, wave out of nowhere. Sometimes it's just kind of present like static in the background. But I think we are also, one, we're taught to shy away from our own emotional expression. We are taught to control and limit and put a time limit on our own emotional expression. And because we're taught that for ourselves, we do it to everybody else. And because we're taught that you can feel sad at the funeral, you can maybe even be sad for a week, but then you got to go back to work. And so it's like, when that person, so we know how to be sad with you a week out, but when you're still sad later, we're like, why are you still doing that? We're supposed to be done with this, because that's the story we've been taught for ourselves. And a lot of us, because we don't process our own feelings and our own traumas and our own systems, we don't then have the capacity to meet another person in theirs, because your depth of pain matches some depth of pain that I have. And if I haven't been able to get to that depth in myself, I'm not going to be able to meet you in yours either. One of my favorite quotes is, people who don't understand their emotions will ignore yours. And I think that's really a lot of what we're seeing happen, is people cannot handle other people's emotions because they ignore their own.
Okay, Miguel, that's quite understandable. Now the question: do how do we cherish the memories? Like mine is also broken family, yours too. So how do you think, like sitting at times that we were on a nice place and we've had a great time? So do you cherish those memories, or those memories get tears in your eyes?
Both. A mix. Half of me might be happy and half of me might cry. They can be both at the same time.
But it's okay to cry and to be happy.
I think that we absolutely should do those things. Like, naturally, as humans, we cry and we laugh. And I'm pretty sure that there's science that even says that people who cry more easily are more emotionally intelligent. We're more emotionally connected to how we're feeling and to how others are feeling. We're supposed to express our emotions. Otherwise, why as humans would we have them? We were just taught not to, because it makes society a little bit harder to function when everyone's having feelings.
Again, losing your breadwinner, the protector, your spouse, and losing your father, and then job too, and you then having kids, and being single mom. I mean, this absolutely difficult time for you. How did you overcome it?
You just don't give up. I mean, I did most of the, I did most of the functions as a mom before. Like, that didn't change too much. And I just, you kind of don't have a choice. It's like, I can lay down in my grief and let it eat me alive, or I can keep going. And it's like, I had bills to pay. And I got lucky enough to have a community of supportive women around me in that breathwork program. And for me, I felt spiritually led to this. I feel, especially the more that I move forward in my entrepreneurial journey, the more I'm realizing that I can pull in all of these skills and lived experiences that I have from previous jobs, my education, and, just all kinds of aspects of my life. And the more purpose led it feels. And I think at that time, with everything falling up down around me, I probably honestly needed something to hang on to. So I was maybe even a little delusional that this was all going to work out, because I needed to be. I needed there to be something after, the whole crumble, and I had a child to live for. Sometimes he's my last motivation on some days, and that's okay too. But it's just who I am. I've always cared about being a better person and having a better impact on the people around me. I've always felt deeply responsible for taking accountability and dealing with the parts of any situation that were mine to deal with. And I wasn't going to give up on life. So I might as well make it better.
Yeah, that's cool, Megan. It's quite understandable that you were lucky having like supportive friends around you, who just help you, like your breath work and other stuff too. And yeah, but you lost your father and your partner too, and then you had to pay all bills. At the end of the day, it's you. Yeah, I mean, people are all around you, but I mean, but it's you, and it's just really, really very difficult. I've been through this, but I had a like break through the breakup.
Mhm.
Although I had a job, I had a place to live, and everything else remained intact, but not the relationship. But I had to go through hell. It was very difficult. It is still, it is. It's not yet over, and it's been like 3 years now. And if I like start, I see it was 20 years of toxic relationship. It gets over. I understand, but it's resilience. It's your resilience. What fed your resilience? What was inner source that you kept you going? Power, inner power.
Feeling like I was supposed to do this. In one of my very first breathwork sessions, I heard a voice and it said, "You signed up for this. You said you were going to come. You said you were going to help people. Get to work." And I have been just coming back to that over and over again and saying, "Yes, I will do this." And it has been really difficult. But I also asked in that breath session why anybody would want, like, what I have to offer, why anybody would want my help. And I saw basically a vision of a series of hands in the dark that each person has a series of humans in their path who could lead them towards the light, and that there were some people waiting on me. And if I choose to believe that, then I owe it to all those people who are waiting on me. And in my own recovery from addiction, had a lot of people who saved my life for free too. So I'm really just paying it forward now.
That's cool. Okay, my question on role of grief. In your experience,
Mhm.
can grief actually be gateway to a more authentic and abundant life?
I think most of the time that's what it's meant for. Yes. I really love, I don't know there's an African nation, I believe, that says basically that when somebody passes, that we should be grateful because it means that you have help on the other side and that that person signed up to help you on the other side. I don't know if that's always true. I would never want to tell someone who was really in pain that there was a reason and like invalidate their pain in that way. And for me, I definitely have felt supported by my dad. My grief, like definitely led me to learn more about myself. My grief led me to breathwork and somatic coaching that helped me heal stuff that I'd been working on for over a decade. My grief forced me into starting a business, and now I don't have to work 40 hours a week for somebody else. It's like my grief did a lot of positive things. And it's also because of what I chose to do with that experience.
Okay. Now, my next question is about daily practices.
Mhm.
What are the non negotiable daily habits you use to keep your own nervous system regulated?
Well, I'm pretty ADHD, so none right now. You know, I pay a lot more attention to my breath. I definitely am now getting to the gym multiple times a week, and that took like years to get to a point where I actually wanted to go. Movement, I do try to move. I'm always trying to drink more water, making sure that I eat healthier. I think my daily practice is intention and awareness. My daily practice is just kind of trying to do my best and notice throughout the day and do better today than I did yesterday of taking care of my needs. Still working on discipline, still working on totally daily rituals, but I'm giving it effort every day. And I have a lot of tools in my belt now. And sometimes, like, getting up and getting an extra drink of water and stepping outside, like, that's all I got today. But the practice of noticing and following through on that is in itself a daily practice. So I'll say that.
It's a cute answer. Okay, now I've got like advice for the healers. A question on for an advice for the healers. Okay, what is one piece of advice you have for other practitioners and coaches who are struggling to build a sustainable soul-led business?
Oh, I have two very specific pieces of advice. One, do the inner work, because 95% of what is happening in your business is a reflection of how you feel about yourself. And two, you cannot fix the direction of your business, the offers that you want to put out into the world, and your pricing with tech. I see so many people who go and constantly are trying to redo their websites because they don't know what their offer is. They're hoping that a redo on their website or a building an automation or a writing an email is going to be the thing that helps them figure out who they are, who they work with, and what they have to offer. And it's just not true. And that's where we come back to that 95% of the work is inside. 95% of the work is knowing the outcome that you can deliver, who you are, what your medicine is, how you package it, and what it's worth. And having the confidence to communicate that and to know that your pricing reflects the medicine that you have to offer. You should not give $400 medicine to a $50 client because they won't be able to use it. That doesn't mean that we can't give very high value services to people who are financially unable to afford them. What it does mean is that we should have very strong vetting processes when we are delivering a service to make sure that the person who is purchasing that service from us can actually receive it. Having a price that reflects the value is just one of those ways to vet the right people. So those are kind of the two that I would say.
Now, lastly, I would like to say that you put people to survival mode. Though that you're all broken, in pain and grief, and stuck somewhere. But
Mhm.
first, you like, I mean, if somebody is after treatment, you put them in ICU, intensive care unit for
Mhm.
physical, and you since you work for metaphysical, so you take them into the survival mode. What's that?
What is survival mode?
Yeah.
So, probably the easiest way to think about it is if you look at like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and it's talking about, like our basic human needs, like we need food and water, and then we need shelter. And so I'd say survival mode is when you get down into the space where you're really only like you're an emergency in those realms. You're not able to feed or take care of yourself. You're not able to like function and think clearly and just do kind of the basic things that we as humans need to do on a day-to-day basis to take care of ourselves. And it's, our systems have been so overloaded that we're in a shutdown. And so coming out of that is really what we call titrating or incrementally moving back towards that sense of safety. And again, coming back to, like I was talking about, starting with meeting those first basic needs. And then, you can kind of move up the pyramid and like try to meet the needs as we go up.
So my best takeaway of the day is like take the food when you're hungry, drink the water when you're thirsty, and take a day, lead your life day by day. I mean, when like across the bridge when bridge comes, is
Mm-hmm.
like and live the moment and stay focused. And it was abundant. And I like you to kindly give a conclusive remarks on today's discussion, that the questions, and if you have to tell us like in 3 minutes, how would you just encapsulate whole talk we did today?
Mm-hmm. Mm. I think if I really wanted to give people a strong takeaway, it's that the right answers are the ones that are right for you. I think there is a lot more available to us than we are taught. I think we're a lot more powerful and intuitive and connected than we are taught to be. And that we are all much more similar. Like the regular guy in the country over there is a lot more similar to us than the billionaires running the system. And I think collectively we're going to go through some hard times. Not that a lot of us, haven't been already. I've been pretty isolated from what's going on in the world. So I won't say that's me, it's like, but I think what is really important is to remember to come back to ourselves, to come back to the present moment, to come back to our inner worlds. And remember, like, we as humans aren't supposed to be witnessing all of this. We're supposed to be living in smaller communities. Like, this is a lot of exposure, and it's okay to take breaks. It's okay to need rest. It's okay to, not always be in the healing process, to not always be in the advocacy realm. Like, it is okay to just go outside and sniff the flowers, and celebrate moments of awareness. Celebrate those times that you do take care of ourselves. We all need, I think most of us could benefit from beating ourselves up less and just accepting and acknowledging our lived human experiences, and to the best that we can try to help each other along. Because man, wouldn't the world be better if we all gave just a little bit more of a crap about everybody else and ourselves first. So yeah, I just
Great.
really want to give people back to themselves.
Okay. Yeah, get back, go see yourself, go back to yourself, talk to yourself, sit with yourself. Yeah. Okay. Any the three pieces of advice that you would like to extend to your younger self?
To my younger self, put yourself first. Don't wait until you're 40 to learn that's like everything people were telling you when they were 40 was true. Put yourself first. Go out and live a life that you love. And like, we can do anything. If you can let go of the timing and the outcome and you're willing to just keep going, like the most successful people in the world get that way because they believe eventually their ideas will work.
That's cool. And the piece of advice that you'd like to give to the blue dot we call Earth, since we are the global citizen and responsible one.
Oof, I don't know. Keep waking up is what came to my head. Like, keep waking up, keep growing. Don't stop growing. It's the whole reason we're here.
Okay. Thank you so much, Megan Crow. This was great session, very valuable. And when are we seeing next?
Oh, I don't know. You tell me.
How about your routine? I mean, do you go for a job? You work from home or combo, like hybrid?
Yeah. So I'm getting ready to do mostly online sessions. I'm actually launching my first group course on April 6th. It's called the Embodied Identity Reset. So I'm going to be working with individuals for 12 weeks to kind of give them a crash course in everything that I learned in all of my healing journey and my education. So I'll be starting that. I already have some signups. I'm really excited. Um, but yeah, I'm going to be moving into doing more online courses. I have a retreat in May. I have some workshops that I have planning to come out, and I'll do some in-person stuff, but I want to reach as many people as I can. So I'm also going to do a lot of stuff just online.
Well, I have a dream to interviewing the professionals like yourself while on job. Like if you're delivering some lectures or webinars, seminars, workshops, or crash course that you're doing,
Mhm.
along with your mentees or students. But I'm feeling very badly. It's been 1 year. I'm trying. If at all you have some chance that you have a session and
Mhm.
your students are there, it has to be interactive one, so I
Mhm.
can talk to them also, then to you also. And
Mm.
I like to have the reviews for you, and for your review for the your mentees, and mentees reviews for the mentor. That will
Yeah.
validate and add value to your work. And anything regarding your social media marketing,
Mhm.
or kind of digital media marketing, anything you want to grow your business. So this is abundancewala.com, my website. What I do, I'll just get you connected with somebody who's expert in that. And my
Mhm.
my job is to connect people. Like if you got some problem, like somebody if is stuck in life, I'll just ask him to see you, so that you just take him or her along and to the next, out of grief into the happiness and the normal life and normalizing stuff. Just because you've been through this, I mean, you're a wonderful coach, a coach who has conquered oneself first, and now you are paying back, I mean, in terms of knowledge, and you're
Mhm.
taking other people's out of grief into the real life. And for that, what's your say, what do you want to say about this?
Oh, I mean, just if people want to check out those courses, I have everything laid out on definingmountains.com. I am Defining Mountains on Instagram. You can find me there. And, I would just invite people, like, if not me, if you're seeking help, to find people who work on your entire system that don't just deal with the mind, but also deal with like the body, and who are open to bringing in your version of spirituality. I will be, the breathwork membership as well. I do want to share. So I have a weekly breathwork membership. I have people that get together every Monday. It's 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Um, but I also have a breathwork library that has like integration tips and tricks. So if people don't want to get in a whole program, or maybe they're not even ready to start with like any one-on-one coaching or anything like that, they can either hop onto these live breathwork calls, or they can just get the library that has all of the audio recordings plus all of these like um, practices, different meditations, different journal prompts. So there's like a whole different list of ways that people can engage with that material to give themselves different ways to practice being in connection with themselves, practicing that self awareness, practicing self reflection, and bringing that into their own daily life. So I really try to offer a lot of different levels of support to meet people where and when they are.
Wow. And my last concern question is, do you welcome guest posting on your Mountain, the definingmountain.com, on your website? Or like, I mean, see if somebody is coming to my website because I'm working for abundance of health, wealth, and happiness. And someone who's heading abundance, then if there is backlink from your website onto mine and mine onto yours, so then they can be redirected to yours. Just because everybody goes through this multiple times, or at least once twice they do the services you are offering. So
Mhm.
is there anything that I can go for ask people to guest post on your website, and then we can share backlinks so that somebody is in search of abundance coming to my website will redirect to yours too, or
Yeah.
somebody who's coming for the health, mental well-being or problems. So I'm also
Mhm.
working for health. So is this is how we can reinforce each other's endeavors. How's that?
So to date, I have only put other people on my website when I'm like in a direct collaboration with them and we're doing something together. I mean, if there was a very aligned thing, like maybe I can't say yes because I need more details to like agree to anything, so it depends on the alignment and what we're doing. I will say though that for my own programming and stuff, I am would love anyone to refer someone that needs this, and I can provide like affiliate links, so that you also can generate some income for referrals. So that is one thing. I also work with people, like we share affiliate links so that we can each get a little kickback if the other person can find a person to come in, so we can kind of share a financial abundance that way. But so far, like I said, I've only just put what I'm doing direct collaborations with people, but I haven't been asked that question before. So
So for that, I we need to talk to you, or you've got somebody who's taking care of your website, or
I
that's
do
you.
all of it.
That's cool.
And
One man army.
I
Yeah.
do all of it and I teach people to build their own.
That's cool. So, do I get you through this LinkedIn, or you've got WhatsApp number to reach you, or I mean, what's comfortable for you for the
Um,
fastest, smooth communication with you?
yeah, right now the best way to reach me is definingmountainscoach@gmail.com.
That's cool. Fantastic. I'll do that.
Yeah.
Fantastic. That this was such a valuable session that I enjoyed each moment of this, and it was like you're showing me the path. I mean, you're the torchbearer. You're the leader, and I was just going through, and I could see whole my life and all the things I've been through, what you've been teaching and training and preaching. This is fantastic session with you, Megan. It was lovely. I really can't thank you enough for the words of wisdom.
Yeah,
Thank you
thank
so
you.
much, and see you soon.
Okay, thanks.
But you didn't tell me when are we seeing next?
I don't know. We can schedule something for what month? A few months from now.
Few months. 1 month is fine. We'll be. Let's see. By the last week of April. I mean, as of today, maybe same date in April. How's that?
I'll have to look at my calendar.
I,
I'm like,
I
dude, you're
want
putting me on the spot. I don't know.
to. Cool. Okay, let me know. I mean, but I don't take it hard on yourself. I mean, just since this is social work, to reach out people that what you're doing, and anything that what resonates with your work. Abundance at the Global Abundance Organization is mine. Like I'm asking questions. What's that you find common between us?
I We are trying to reach a large audience and bring abundance to all of them. Like,
Sure. Yes. Thank you so much. Megan, it was great time with you. See you and bye
okay.
bye. See you soon
All right,
again.
thank you.
Thank you.